You wake up slowly, but not because you want to. The first thing that hits you isn't the warmth of your bed or the cozy sunlight filtering through a window. No, it's the cold, the sharp sting of early morning air cutting through the thin fabric of your kimono, and the faint smell of damp wood mixed with something less pleasant. Probably the neighbor's unwashed laundry, or that weird fish you saw yesterday. Welcome to your first morning as a samurai apprentice in feudal Japan. Before you get too comfortable, maybe stretch out those limbs and yawn. Consider hitting that like button and subscribing if you enjoy this oddly soothing trip back in time. But only if you genuinely like what I'm doing here. No pressure. And hey, if you're watching this late at night, or maybe it's a cozy afternoon somewhere far away, drop a comment telling me where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see who's falling asleep to ancient history alongside me. Now back to your new life. Your mattress isn't really a mattress. It's more like a straw mat on a hard floor, and it smells faintly like betrayal mixed with old rice. But that's fine because you don't have time to complain. In fact, you don't have much time at all. The day begins early here, before the sun fully rises. Your wake-up call is the faint but persistent clatter of wooden sandals on stone, and the occasional grunt from your fellow trainees, trying not to think about the mountain of chores ahead. Your hygiene routine could generously be called minimal. You don't get a hot shower or even a proper wash. Instead, there's a wooden bucket with cold water. Yes, just cold, no fancy spa treatments here. You splash it over your face and arms, trying to shake off the lingering sleep, and that distinct odor of yesterday's sweat mixed with the scent of wooden training swords. Your hair is tied back in the fashion of your clan, but after a night on a straw mat, it looks like a bird's nest, except the birds have probably moved out due to the conditions. Breakfast is next, but don't expect avocado toast or a fancy latte. Nope, it's a bowl of plain rice porridge, with maybe some pickled vegetables, if you're lucky. The taste. Imagine chewing on wet cardboard that's been sitting in a mild vinegar bath. The food is designed to keep you alive, not to make you happy. But hey, that's feudal Japan for you. Survival over flavor. You learn quickly not to complain out loud, because complaining means you get assigned extra duties. And if you think about complaining, remember, your whole day will be packed with things way worse than eating bland mush. Once breakfast is done, it's time to get serious. You line up with your fellow trainees, some older, some younger, all just as miserable as you feel, and the training begins. Your first lesson isn't about fancy sword tricks or noble stances. No, it's about discipline. You practice bowing properly, standing straight like a bamboo stalk, and obeying orders without question. Your instructor watches with a hawk's gaze, ready to punish any sign of weakness or laziness. Punishment here is more than just a stern word. It could mean extra push-ups, or worse, wielding a heavier training sword for the next hour. Speaking of swords, your training weapons are wooden swords called bakken. They're solid and heavy, designed to build strength. But swing one too wildly, and you might accidentally break a bone. Every swing echoes in the training yard, along with the occasional grunt of pain or the sharp snap of a poorly timed block. There's no room for error, because every mistake here could be your last in real combat. And trust me, in the world you're waking up to, last is a word with a very different meaning than it has today. The air smells faintly of sweat, with chips and incense burned by your sensei, probably to mask the general funk of 100 unwashed bodies, training hard in a cramped space. The sound of shouted commands mixes with the clack of wooden swords, creating a strangely rhythmic backdrop that will, over time, lull you into a new kind of normal. But don't get too comfortable. This is just the beginning. As the morning drags on, you start to notice the other trainees. Some are quiet, eyes sharp and calculating. Others try to show off, which usually ends in them getting knocked down hard or scolded so badly you feel sorry for them. The social hierarchy here is already forming, based mostly on strength, skill, and who your family is. Spoiler alert, if your family is nobody, you're going to have a tough time. Around midday, you get a break, but don't expect to lounge. The food situation remains as thrilling as before, more rice, maybe a little miso soup, and if you're lucky, a small fish. Water is rationed carefully, because clean drinking water isn't something you find in every corner. You learn to savor each sip, but also to be wary. Sometimes the water's been standing too long, and drinking it is a gamble. The thought that you might get a stomach bug from the water adds a new layer of excitement to your otherwise predictable day. Medical care is, well, it's medieval. You have a camp doctor who's really just a senior samurai who's learned a thing or two about bandaging wounds and herbal remedies. Cuts, bruises, and broken bones are a daily part of life here. If you get injured, you get patched up with a mixture of rice paste and herbs that smell vaguely like your breakfast, but much worse. Infection is a constant threat, so you learn to be cautious, because an infection here could mean death, or worse, being too weak to train and losing your place. The afternoons are a repeat of the morning's drill, but with a bit more intensity. You run, spar, practice archery, and learn to move quietly like a shadow. Your body aches, your muscles burn, but you don't get a break until sunset. The social life is limited, mostly whispers and quiet grudges exchanged over shared meals. Respect is hard-earned and easily lost. You quickly find that in this world, trust is scarce and loyalty is often just another word for useful for now. Eventually, the sun dips low, and you're sent back to your quarters, a small wooden room with just enough space to lie down, surrounded by the muffled sounds of others settling in. Your mind races with thoughts of the next day, of the training, of the possibility that you might not last a week, let alone a day in a real battle. Yet, there's a strange calm in this routine, a predictable rhythm that lulls you to a restless sleep on your scratchy straw mat. As your eyes close, you realize you've entered a world where every day is a fight, and every night is a fragile peace. The life of a samurai apprentice in feudal Japan is brutal, unforgiving, and unlike anything you've ever known. And you're just getting started as you wake up again, though it's hard to tell if it's morning or some cruel invention of endless training cycles. The cold air hasn't changed much, still sneaking under your thin kimono and making you wonder why anyone ever thought robes were a good idea for battle readiness. But there's no time to dwell on your questionable wardrobe choices. Today, like every day, you have a morning routine that would make even the most disciplined modern fitness guru give up and take a nap. You shuffle over to the cold wooden basin outside your quarters, where the water is ice cold. No heated springs or fancy bathhouses here, just whatever they hauled in from the nearby stream. You splash it over your face, grimacing as the shock wakes you up more effectively than any alarm clock ever could. The smell of damp earth mixed with sweat and a faint whiff of incense greets you, a bizarre combination that somehow becomes normal after a few days. Breakfast is waiting, or at least what passes for it. Rice porridge again, this time with a sprinkle of something that might be seaweed or just dirt. You're not sure, and after a week, you stop caring. There's no coffee to perk you up either, just bitter green tea that tastes like it was brewed from twigs and regret. You eat quietly alongside your fellow trainees, who are either too tired or too polite to complain. The noise level is low. Everyone knows complaining means extra chores, and in this world, chores are the last thing you want. So before you get too comfortable eating your bland breakfast, remember to like the video and subscribe if you're enjoying this slow, historical journey, but only if you genuinely want to. No need to rush it. And if you're cozying up for a nap, maybe leave a comment about where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's nice to know you're not alone falling asleep to tales of ancient warriors. After breakfast, you gather with the other apprentices in the training yard, which smells faintly of wood chips, sweat, and a hint of fear. Your instructor, a stern man with a face as weathered as the sword he carries, gives a quick nod. No need for speeches here. Everyone knows the drill. You line up, wooden sword in hand, ready for the day's discipline. The first lesson is usually basic footwork. It sounds simple, but you quickly discover it's like trying to dance gracefully on a floor made of rocks. Your legs ache, your balance is off, and the instructor's sharp eyes miss nothing. If you stumble or hesitate, you hear the snap of a wooden sword hitting a training dummy, a subtle reminder of what happens if you fail. After footwork, it's time for weapon drills. You grip your bodkin tighter, trying to ignore the blisters already forming on your hands. The rhythm of swinging, blocking, and stepping echoes across the yard. It's exhausting and repetitive, but you're told mastery comes from repetition. Your arms burn, your breath shortens, and you try not to think about how this is supposed to prepare you for a real battle where the sword is metal and the opponent is not going to fall over just because you hit them with a stick. Punishments are part of the routine too. If you slack off or make a mistake, you might be assigned to sweep the entire training ground or carry water buckets heavier than you expected. Sometimes it's physical, extra push-ups, running laps until your lungs feel like they'll burst. The instructor's favorite, though, is making you hold a heavy wooden sword in a fixed stance until your muscles shake like jelly. Pain is your new best friend, or maybe your worst enemy, depending on how much you like suffering. The sun climbs higher, and the training intensifies. You practice archery next, aiming at wooden targets painted with faded symbols. The bow is heavy in your hands, the string stiff, and your arms protest with every draw. Hitting the target even once feels like a small victory, but your instructor barely nods before telling you to do it again. Over and over. The sound of twanging bowstrings mixed with the occasional grunt of exertion creates a strange, almost hypnotic rhythm. By midday, your stomach grumbles louder than the instructor's barked orders. Lunch is similar to breakfast, more rice, maybe some pickled vegetables, and occasionally a small fish if the cooks were feeling generous. The food is enough to keep you alive, but not enough to make you happy. There's no room for gourmet meals or fancy snacks here, just fuel for survival. Water is rationed carefully, because clean water is a precious commodity. You sip slowly, savoring each drop, while trying not to think about what might be lurking in that murky liquid. Medical care is a strange affair. If you get injured during training, you see the camp medic, who's usually an older samurai with a gruff manner and a limited supply of bandages and herbs. He applies a sticky rice paste to cuts, wraps your wounds with rough cloth, and grumbles about how careless you were. Infection is a constant threat, so you learn quickly to clean your injuries as best you can and hope for the best. There's no anesthesia or modern medicine here, just resilience and a high tolerance for pain. In the afternoon, the training continues with more sword drills, sparring sessions, and lessons in stealth and strategy. You learn how to move quietly through forests, how to read the wind and listen for distant sounds. Your muscles scream in protest, your feet blistered and sore, but you keep going. Giving up isn't an option. If you do, you risk falling behind or worse, being sent away. The social dynamics in the camp are complex. Respect is earned through strength and skill, but family connections matter too. If your family is noble or well-connected, you get better training and maybe a bit of protection. If not, you're left to fend for yourself, constantly proving you belong. Friendships are fragile and often tinged with rivalry. Trust is rare because everyone knows that today's ally might be tomorrow's opponent. As the sun sets, you return to your quarters, exhausted and aching. Your straw mat feels even harder after a day of relentless training. You try to relax, but your mind races with thoughts of the next day's challenges. Sleep doesn't come easy. The fear of failure, The looming possibility of real battle and the uncertainty of your future weigh heavily. Yet, amidst the hardship, there's a strange peace. The routine, brutal as it is, creates a rhythm that your body and mind come to rely on. The scent of incense, the distant sounds of night creatures, the quiet murmurs of other trainees settling down, all combine into a lullaby of a very different kind. You close your eyes, knowing that tomorrow will bring the same trials, the same pain, and the same relentless push toward becoming a true samurai. Whether you last a day or a lifetime in this harsh world remains to be seen. You awaken once more to the soft creak of the wooden beams overhead and the faint morning chill slipping beneath your kimono. Your body aches in places you didn't even know could ache. Today's going to be another marathon of training, and your limbs are already complaining. But there's no time to feel sorry for yourself. The samurai life waits for no one, especially not someone like you who's still fumbling with the basics. You step outside into the crisp morning air, which carries the scent of pine, smoke from the distant hearth fires, and that unmistakable tang of sweat from 100 other apprentices already hard at work. It's a smell you've grown oddly accustomed to, part musk, part desperation, part determination. It's also a smell that clings to your clothes and hair like a second skin, one you'll have for months to come. Today, the focus is on weapons training, not just swinging wooden swords, but starting to handle the real thing. The katana, the samurai's pride and terror, is a sleek, sharp masterpiece that demands respect. Your first glimpse of it feels almost like meeting a wild animal, beautiful, dangerous, and a little bit terrifying. You run your hands carefully along the polished blade, mindful of its power. It's not a toy. It's an extension of your very soul, or so they say. You remind yourself not to slice off a finger on your very first day. Your instructor stands nearby, eyes sharp like a hawk's, watching your every move. He's not here to coddle you or hand out compliments. Mistakes will be met with a sharp word, or worse. Today's training includes cutting practice on rolled tatami mats, soaked in water. The mats provide some resistance, but still give you a taste of what real cutting might feel like. You grip the katana tightly, your hands trembling just slightly, and swing. The sound is satisfying. A clean whoosh followed by a solid thwack as the blade slices through the mat. It's a small victory, but it feels like conquering a mountain. The instructor nods, barely, before demanding you do it again, and again. By the 10th swing, your arms feel like they might fall off, but the feeling is strangely addictive. Next comes sparring practice. Your opponent is another apprentice, eyes blazing with a mix of fear and excitement. You bow to each other, respect before battle, and then the dance begins. Wooden swords clash with a sharp crack, the sound echoing in the training yard. Your heart pounds louder than the thudding feet and clashing weapons. Sparring isn't just about strength. It's about timing, strategy, and nerves. You quickly learn that hesitation is deadly. A single mistake could mean a painful hit or a humiliating fall. Your muscles scream, sweat drips into your eyes, and the taste of blood, yours or someone else's, feels strangely metallic in your mouth. It's thrilling and terrifying all at once. Between sparring sessions, there's little rest. You practice stance drills, focusing on balance and posture, because a samurai's power isn't just in his sword, but in his ability to control his body. Your legs burn from holding a stance for what feels like an eternity, but you don't dare complain. Complaining is a luxury you can't afford. If you're lucky, you get brief moments to practice with other weapons, bows, spears, and sometimes even the short dagger called a tanto. Each weapon requires its own set of skills and patience, which you learn the hard way. Dropping a spear or fumbling with a bowstring brings more than just embarrassment. It invites punishment, usually in the form of extra drills or carrying heavy logs. The midday meal brings a familiar break. You sit with others in the wooden dining hall, the floor cold and hard beneath your knees. The meal is humble, more rice, some pickled radish, and a small portion of grilled fish if you're fortunate. There's no sugar, no spices, just enough to keep your stomach quiet and your energy barely steady. The food is bland, but the camaraderie, or lack thereof, is rich. Conversations are whispered, eyes always alert, because in this world, trust is in short supply. Water continues to be rationed carefully. You drink slowly, savoring each drop, aware that dehydration can sap your strength faster than any sword. The water tastes earthy, sometimes with a hint of moss or something less pleasant. You hope no one's going to get sick because the last thing you need is a fever on top of exhaustion. The afternoons stretch long and relentless. You drill weapon forms over and over, your movements becoming slightly less awkward, a little more precise. The instructor's sharp criticisms become background noise, almost like a metronome keeping time with your swings and steps. You start to notice how your body adapts, how sore muscles heal into strength, how bruises fade but leave stories on your skin. The camp medic is busy as usual. You see him tending to others, cleaning wounds with harsh herbal concoctions, wrapping aching joints with rough cloth strips. His tools are simple, his methods harsh, but his presence is a small comfort. Injuries here are inevitable, but the fear of infection is what really makes you cautious. A small cut left untreated can turn into a life-threatening problem. It's a brutal reality that keeps you vigilant. As the sun dips lower, your mind drifts to the hierarchy within the camp. The samurai world is rigidly structured. Higher-ranked samurai look down on apprentices like you, and sometimes quite literally. Your place is near the bottom, expected to work harder and prove yourself daily. Senior trainees act like grizzled veterans, sometimes helpful, sometimes cruel. Family ties and clan loyalties weave through the camp's social fabric, influencing who gets better gear, better training, or just a bit more respect. Friendships form quietly and carefully. You learn to read body language, to listen for what's left unsaid. Allies might one day become rivals, and rivals sometimes save your life unexpectedly. It's a delicate dance, and every step matters. When the evening finally arrives, you return to your cramped quarters. The straw mat feels harder after a full day of training, but you collapse onto it anyway, every muscle aching and every breath shallow. The camp is noisy with whispers and restless movements. Some trainees talk quietly about dreams of glory. Others stare at the ceiling, haunted by fears of failure or worse, death. You lie there, staring at the rough wooden ceiling above, and think about what tomorrow will bring. More training, more pain, more small victories and crushing defeats. The life of a samurai apprentice is not for the faint of heart. It's a daily test of endurance, courage, and a stubborn refusal to give up. Slowly, your eyelids grow heavy. The sounds of the camp fade into a soft murmur, the distant hoot of an owl, the gentle rustling of leaves outside. You drift, not into peace, but into a restless sleep filled with dreams of steel and shadow. And tomorrow, you'll wake again and do it all over. You wake up to the faint glow of dawn filtering through the thin paper walls of your quarters. Your body protests with a dull ache that seems to have taken up permanent residence in your muscles and joints. But you know there's no rest today, only the relentless push of discipline and training that defines a samurai's life. The cold air wraps around you like an unwelcome visitor as you slide out of your bedding, which smells faintly of straw, sweat, and a hint of something that might be mold. Your mattress is unforgiving, a mere straw mat laid out on hard wooden planks, which guarantees a night of tossing and turning at best. Outside, the camp is already stirring. You hear the low murmur of voices, the clatter of wooden swords against training dummies, and the occasional sharp shout from an instructor reminding everyone that laziness is not an option. The smell of damp earth mixed with smoke from the cooking fires hangs heavy in the air. You make your way to the small basin, where you splash cold water on your face, water that tastes faintly of moss and carries the chill of the nearby river. Hygiene is basic here. There are no baths or showers, only quick rinses and a lot of hope. The concept of self-care feels like a luxury from another world. Breakfast is served. A simple bowl of rice porridge, bland and sticky, sometimes accompanied by a few pickled vegetables or a bit of dried fish. No avocado toast, no fancy lattes, just fuel to keep your body going through the day's trials. The taste is monotonous but familiar, like the soundtrack of this life. As you eat, you notice the sharp eyes of the senior samurai watching quietly. They don't speak much, but their presence is a reminder that everything you do is being judged. Your strength, your discipline, your very will to survive. After breakfast, you join the others in the training yard. The ground is hard-packed dirt, marked with the footprints and scars of countless trainees before you. The morning's focus is on discipline, both physical and mental. You run through a series of drills designed to build endurance, sprinting across the yard, jumping over logs, and practicing forms that seem more like a slow, precise dance than a preparation for battle. Your instructor is relentless, his voice cutting through the morning air like a whip. Focus, he demands, no hesitation. A samurai's strength is not just in his sword but in his mind. You try to absorb the words, but the burning in your lungs and the ache in your legs make concentration a challenge. The physical exhaustion is only part of it. Mental toughness is drilled into you through long hours of meditation and study. You sit cross-legged, eyes half closed, focusing on your breathing while your mind wanders to dark places, thoughts of failure, pain, and the ever-present specter of death. The samurai philosophy teaches acceptance of mortality, but in practice, it's a cold companion. Midday brings a brief respite. You eat again more rice, maybe some dried fish if you're lucky, and drink water carefully rationed. Clean water is scarce, and the camp guards it jealously. The taste is earthy, and you try not to think about what else might be swimming in it. The afternoon is reserved for weapon training. Today, it's the naginata, a long pole weapon with a curved blade at the end. Handling it requires strength and finesse, and your arms tire quickly as you practice swings and blocks. Your grip slips occasionally, drawing a sharp reprimand from your instructor. Control, he snaps, or you're dead. Sparring sessions are brutal. You face off against other apprentices, wooden swords clashing in a flurry of strikes and parries. The noise is a mix of grunts, thuds, and the occasional gasp when someone gets a lucky hit. You quickly learn that sparring is not just practice. It's a test of nerves and instinct. One misstep could mean a painful hit or a public humiliation. Injuries are common. Cuts, bruises, sprains. They're badges of honor and reminders of your vulnerability. The camp medic tends to the wounded with simple herbs and bandages. There's no anesthesia, no magic cure, just resilience and time. You watch as others limp back to training, faces grim but determined. As evening falls, the camp quiets somewhat. You return to your quarters, exhausted beyond words. The straw mat feels harder than ever, and your body aches in new and surprising places. Sleep is a merciful escape, though dreams are often restless, filled with images of battle, failure, and the weight of expectations. Before drifting off, your thoughts turn to the life you're building here, one of discipline, pain, and relentless effort. It's a life that demands everything and offers little in return except survival and maybe, just maybe, honor. You wake slowly to the faint rustling of leaves outside and the cool morning air brushing against your skin. Your body feels like it's been run over by a cart, but you've learned that soreness is just part of this life, your new normal. The thin walls of your quarters do little to block the sounds of early activity in the camp. The steady thud of wooden swords striking training dummies, low murmurs of focused apprentices, and the occasional sharp shout from an instructor reminding everyone who's really in charge. You stretch out on your straw mat, which smells like a mix of old hay and forgotten dreams. There's no mattress here, no pillow. Just a simple bundle of straw tightly packed to cushion your tired bones. Comfort is a distant memory, replaced by the hard reality of this training camp. The morning routine beckons. You make your way to the basin to splash your face with cold water, tasting the faint earthy bitterness that always surprises you. Hygiene is basic, almost primitive. You brush your teeth with a twig, the rough texture scraping away at your gums, reminding you that dental care is a luxury lost to history. Breakfast is a silent affair, a bowl of rice porridge that's as bland as the expression on your instructor's face. Sometimes there's a small piece of pickled vegetable or a scrap of dried fish, but often it's just the porridge, sticky and warm. There's no fancy coffee shop here, just the steady buzz of flies and the distant crow of a rooster. As you eat, you glance around at the others. Some look resigned, others determined. All of you are bound by the same fate: survive the training, or be discarded. It's a sobering thought that makes the porridge taste even more bitter. After breakfast, you gather in the yard, where the ground is hard and uneven, scattered with stones and patches of worn grass. Today's focus is on medical care and injuries, a grim but necessary topic. You listen as the camp medic, an older samurai with a weathered face and no patience for complaints, explains how to treat common wounds. There's no modern medicine here, just herbs, poultices, and a lot of hope. You watch as he demonstrates cleaning a deep cut with a bitter herbal wash, then wraps it tightly with rough cloth strips. The smell is sharp and medicinal, mingling oddly with the earthy scent of the yard. Infection is a constant threat, and you realize that a simple mistake, like failing to clean a wound properly, could be fatal. Next, you learn about treating broken bones. Splints made from bamboo and rope are crude but effective if applied correctly. The medic's hands are steady and sure, but his words are harsh. Pain is part of healing. Endure it or die. As the day wears on, you see trainees nursing injuries, bandaged arms, bruised ribs, limping feet. The physical toll of training is undeniable. You realize that surviving isn't just about strength and skill. It's about how well you heal, how carefully you listen to your body, and how quickly you can push through the pain without breaking. Lunch is another simple meal: more rice, some boiled vegetables, and occasionally a piece of dried fish. The food never changes, but your gratitude for it grows, especially when you see others too sick or injured to eat. Water is still rationed carefully, each sip savored as if it were a precious gem. The afternoon is spent practicing first aid on each other. You awkwardly try to wrap a friend's wound, mindful of the medic's instructions. Your fingers are clumsy, and your friend winces, but it's a valuable lesson. Trust and teamwork are rare in this world, but today you feel a flicker of both. Sparring resumes with a new edge. You're more aware now, not just of your opponent's moves, but of the risks. A small cut or bruise can turn dangerous if not treated. Your strikes are more cautious. Your defense is tighter. The sound of wooden swords clashing feels different, heavier, more serious. As evening falls, the camp grows quieter. You return to your quarters, body aching and mind heavy with the day's lessons. Your straw mat offers little comfort, but you curl into it anyway, pulling your thin blanket tight against the night chill. Lying there, you reflect on the fragility of life here. Every cut, every bruise, every illness is a gamble. Survival depends on more than just fighting skill. It depends on luck, resilience, and sometimes sheer stubbornness. The sounds of the camp fade into a gentle hum, the rustling of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the soft breathing of your companions settling in for the night. You close your eyes, letting the darkness wash over you, knowing tomorrow will bring new challenges and maybe, just maybe, a chance to grow stronger. You wake to the quiet stirrings of dawn, the cool air slipping through the cracks of your wooden quarters. Your muscles protest in gentle waves, reminders of yesterday's relentless training. The camp smells of damp earth with smoke and the faint tang of iron, both from weapons and old wounds. You rise from your straw mat, the rough texture pressing uncomfortably against your skin. It's hardly a bed, but after weeks here, you've grown oddly used to its unforgiving nature. There's no fluff, no pillow, just a thin bundle of straw, the samurai's version of comfort. Outside, the camp is already alive. The distant calls of instructors echo across the training grounds, mixing with the rhythmic thuds of practice, swords striking dummies, and the occasional grunt of exertion. The scent of pine mingles with smoke and sweat, creating a heady, earthy perfume that fills your senses. Today is about rankings, hierarchy, and the complicated social web that binds you all together. You move among your fellow apprentices, aware of the invisible lines drawn by experience, skill, and, of course, birthright. The samurai world is rigidly ordered, a strict ladder where everyone's place is carefully noted and often loudly announced. Higher-ranked samurai pass by with an air of effortless authority. Their armor gleams under the rising sun, their katanas perfectly balanced and polished to a mirror shine. They carry themselves like kings of the battlefield, and you can't help but feel the weight of your own insignificance in their presence. The lowest ranks, where you currently reside, are a mix of hopefuls, failures, and those quietly resigned to their fate. Everyone's competing, not just to improve but to survive the endless scrutiny. Mistakes are punished, and mercy is a rare commodity. Social life here is a strange dance. Friendships are fragile, often forged in the crucible of shared hardship, but shadowed by rivalry. Allies today can be competitors tomorrow. Clan loyalties complicate matters further, with some trainees favored for their family ties, given better gear, better food, or easier tasks. You learn quickly to navigate these currents with caution and tact. As the day unfolds, you observe the subtle ways power is displayed. A curt nod here, a dismissive glance there. You learn who commands respect and who's barely tolerated. Gossip spreads like wildfire, a weapon as sharp as any sword. Despite the competition, moments of camaraderie arise. During meals, you share stories in hushed tones, swapping tales of near disasters, narrow escapes, and small victories. Laughter is rare but cherished, a brief reprieve from the relentless pressure. Training doesn't pause for hierarchy. Even the highest-ranked samurai push themselves, though their drills have a different rhythm, more calculated, less desperate. Watching them, you glimpse the future you might never reach. Mastery and maybe, just maybe, honor. Evening descends with a quiet solemnity. You retreat to your quarters, the day's weight settling heavily on your shoulders. The straw mat feels harder than ever, the cold seeping in through the thin walls. Outside, the camp grows still, save for the occasional murmur or distant call. You lie down, muscles twitching with fatigue, mind turning over the complex web of social rules, power plays, and subtle alliances. The samurai life is more than swordsmanship. It's a game of survival in body and spirit. As your breathing slows and darkness envelopes you, the camp fades into a gentle hum. The creak of wood, the whisper of wind through leaves, the soft breathing of those who share your fate. You drift toward sleep, caught between hope and the hard truths of this ancient world. You wake slowly to the muted light of morning slipping through the shoji screens, the coolness of the air brushing your skin, like a quiet reminder that the day ahead won't be easy. Your body is still sore, a familiar ache settling deep in your muscles. But today is different. Today is the day of the fight. The camp buzzes with a strange mixture of tension and routine. You hear the distant clamor of preparations, the sharpening of swords, the rhythmic pounding of armor being assembled, and the steady hum of samurai steeling themselves for what's to come. Outside, the air is thick with smoke from countless cooking fires and the faint metallic tang of weapons. You rise from your straw mat, the familiar roughness greeting your skin, and begin your morning ritual. There's no leisurely breakfast here. Instead, you eat quickly, the bland rice porridge sliding down like a reminder that this is fuel, not comfort. No avocado toast or artisan coffee, just simple, unadorned sustenance for what might be your last day. The camp instructors move among you like hawks, their eyes sharp and unforgiving. They bark orders, straighten armor, adjust straps, and offer brief, often harsh, words of encouragement. Fear and adrenaline mingle in the air, a silent current pulsing beneath every movement. You gather with the others, your fellow samurai trainees, as the procession toward the arena begins. The path is lined with quiet onlookers, some curious, some indifferent. You notice the occasional smile from a vendor selling simple snacks, the clink of coins changing hands, and the distant murmur of nobles discussing bets and politics. It's a world far removed from your own, yet you are about to step right into its heart. The arena itself looms large, a vast circle of dirt, surrounded by wooden stands packed with spectators. The sun glints off the polished armor of the senior samurai, their expressions unreadable behind their masks. The roar of the crowd rises and falls like waves, a tide of anticipation and bloodlust. You can feel the weight of your armor pressing against your skin, the familiar heft of your katana at your side. Your heartbeat echoes in your ears, steady but loud. This is the moment you've trained for, or so you tell yourself. The Emperor's presence is unmistakable, elevated above the crowd, his gaze cold and calculating. He watches with the detached interest of a man who sees samurai like you as little more than entertainment. His expression offers no comfort, only the knowledge that your fate rests partly in his hands. As the signal is given, you step into the arena. The dirt beneath your feet feels strangely soft, almost welcoming, but you know better. This ground has swallowed many dreams, many lives. The crowd's roar swells as the fight begins, a cacophony that drowns out your own thoughts. Your opponent moves with practiced grace, a mirror image of your own training and fears. The clash of steel rings sharp and clear, sparks flying as swords meet. Time seems to slow and speed up all at once, a strange dance of life and death. Each strike you parry, each counter you launch, is a fragile thread holding you in the moment. One slip, one hesitation, and it's over. You taste the dust and sweat in the air, hear the gasps and shouts from the stands, feel the sting of bruises blooming beneath your armor. The fight drags on, each moment stretching into eternity. You are both predator and prey, locked in a deadly ballet choreographed by skill, instinct, and the cruel hand of fate. The clang of steel fades as the final strike lands. The crowd's roar is a distant thunder in your ears, muffled and far away, like you're underwater. Your breath comes heavy and ragged, chest rising and falling beneath the weight of your armor. You stand frozen for a moment, the reality settling in. The fight is over. If you won, the silence that follows is almost as shocking as the battle itself. The arena holds its breath, waiting for the Emperor's nod, the subtle sign that you may have earned a fleeting taste of honor. The weight of victory presses down on you, a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and the bitter knowledge that tomorrow, this day will become just another memory, and your opponent a ghost. Winning doesn't guarantee safety. You know that as well as anyone. The samurai life is brutal, and even champions can fall the next day. Yet, a win means better food for a while, Maybe a moment's rest without fear of punishment. It means a step up in rank, a faint glow of hope in an otherwise grim existence. If you lose, the silence is different. It's colder, heavier, filled with the harsh finality of defeat. Your body aches from wounds, some shallow, others deep. The crowd's cheers turn to murmurs of disappointment or cruel laughter. You stumble, trying to hide the pain, the shame, the growing fear that this could be your last day. The mercy of the emperor or the camp leaders is unpredictable. Sometimes a losing samurai is given a chance to live and train another day, rare but possible. Other times, the sentence is death or worse, exile to a fate more terrible than the arena. It's a gamble with deadly stakes. You are helped from the arena, limbs trembling, vision blurred by sweat and dust. The medics rush forward, their faces tight with urgency. You are dragged to the camp's infirmary, a cramped space filled with the stench of blood, herbs, and something unmistakably like fear. The medics' hands are rough but practiced as they clean your wounds, applying poultices of crushed herbs that sting sharply against broken skin. You grit your teeth, fighting the urge to scream. There's no anesthesia, no pity, only the harsh necessity of survival. You watch other wounded samurai around you, some quiet, others writhing in pain. The sounds of labored breathing, soft curses, and occasional sobs fill the air. The line between life and death feels thinner here than anywhere else. Night falls, and the camp grows eerily quiet. The usual clatter of training is replaced by the soft shuffle of footsteps and whispered prayers. You lie on your straw mat, bandages soaked with blood, body trembling from pain and exhaustion. The fear doesn't leave you. It curls around your heart like a cold snake, reminding you that each breath could be your last. You think of the families you left behind, the dreams you had before this brutal life claimed you. Sleep comes fitfully, haunted by visions of the arena, the crowd, and the sharp edge of a blade. But it also brings a strange kind of peace, a temporary escape from the harshness of the day. In these quiet moments, you realize that the samurai life is not just about fighting. It's about facing fear, accepting pain, and finding meaning in the brief moments of honor amid relentless hardship. You wake slowly, the shadows of night still lingering in the corners of your cramped quarters. Your body aches in ways you didn't know possible. Every muscle screams in protest. Bandages bind wounds that pulse with a dull, constant throb. The straw mat beneath you feels like a bed of needles, yet it's all you have. The night was long, filled with restless sleep and haunted dreams. Visions of the arena's dirt, the roar of the crowd, the glint of steel. You realize now that the fight wasn't just physical. It's etched deep in your mind, a shadow that clings to your thoughts. You lie still for a moment, breathing slowly, trying to shake the heaviness that drapes over you like a dark cloak. Around you, the camp is quiet, too quiet. The usual sounds of movement and muffled voices are replaced by an oppressive silence that presses in on your ears. This is the aftermath, the time when the fear of death lingers most sharply. You think about the others, some gone, some injured, some broken. The camp feels like a living tomb, a place where dreams are crushed and hope flickers like a candle struggling against the wind. You know the routine well. Soon, there will be the harsh calls of instructors, the grinding routines of training, the endless cycle of drills and punishments. But for now, there's only the heavy weight of survival and the quiet ache of what might have been. Your mind drifts to freedom, a concept as distant as the stars above. Outside these walls, beyond the sword and armor, lies a world of possibilities. But here, freedom is a luxury few can afford. Your life is dictated by discipline, fear, and the harsh whims of those in power. The day ahead will demand more endurance, more courage, more submission. Yet in this fragile moment, you allow yourself a brief breath, a quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, you will see another sunrise. As the first light filters through the wooden slats, you close your eyes once more, letting the calm wash over you. The pain remains, but so does a small spark of resolve. The samurai life is harsh and fleeting, but it is yours for now. You wake once again to the soft light of dawn, the air cooler than before, carrying the faint scent of cedar and earth. Your body is battered but still moving, a stubborn testament to endurance. This life, harsh as it is, has shaped you in ways you didn't expect. You've learned that survival here isn't just about skill with a sword. It's about resilience, about the quiet battles fought in the mind. You lie still for a moment, feeling the rough texture of your straw mat beneath you, the faint creak of wood from the camp stirring awake. Outside, birds call softly, their songs weaving through the morning mist like gentle reminders that life continues, no matter how brutal the day before. You think about the journey, each dawn and dusk, each clash of steel and whispered prayer. The uncertainty of tomorrow looms large, yet beneath it lies a quiet strength. The samurai life demands sacrifice, but it also teaches something precious, the fleeting nature of all things, and the importance of each moment. There's a strange comfort in that thought. Though freedom feels distant, and the future is shadowed by risk and pain, you hold onto the smallest flicker of hope. You are part of a long story, one written in sweat, blood, and honor. The camp gradually comes alive around you. The soft shuffle of footsteps, the murmur of voices, the distant clang of metal. The rhythm of life here is relentless, unforgiving, but strangely hypnotic. You close your eyes again, letting the sounds fade into a soothing hum. No matter what tomorrow brings, you've made it this far. You've felt the sharp edge of fear and the bitter taste of pain. You've seen the faces of those who fight beside you, and those who have fallen. And as you drift toward sleep, wrapped in the cool embrace of night, you carry with you a quiet truth. This life may be harsh, but it is yours to endure. And for now, that is enough.